game face.
Lock it in.
The wolf. We're like double fisting here. This is probably how we should do it more often.
This is GRL Raw, the podcast where the GRL team tells you why they're different. Who the hell are they? Why should you want them fighting for you? The industry leader in law with over 180 years of combined experience. This team is here to shed light on crucial topics in law to keep you aware and informed, because it comes back to the primary point. We give a damn.
All right, welcome to episode 5 of GRL Raw. This one will come up with the fancy name, but generally speaking, this is the Wolf's Rules to Surviving College, right?
Yes, the rules of engagement.
Oh, okay.
I like that. Rules of engagement.
Rules of engagement?
Yeah.
You can't click that. They'll get mad
I
at you.
understand.
Okay. So I am joined today. I am Bobby Raykemper, and I am joined by the L in GRL, Matthew Thomas Lindholm.
That is me.
AKA the Wolf.
That is me.
The Wolf.
The wolf, yes.
You got the gray. You kind of look like a wolf. Not really, but kind of sort of. How did you get this nickname of the Wolf?
It was gifted to me back when I had to help out a couple of friends with a couple different sticky situations, and it seemed like the situations resolved themselves before getting too big.
Okay, you don't look like a wild feral canine. So the wolf, where does that come from? What's the story behind that nickname?
So I was told that it comes from the movie Pulp Fiction, when I guess the couple of gangsters get themselves in a little bit of a situation where they had a body and blood and all kinds of things, and they called the head gangster to see what to do, and he said he was going to send the wolf. Well, he did, and
Oh, shit.
yeah, you're sending the wolf. That's all you had to say.
Okay.
So the wolf comes in and cleans up their situation very efficiently, very quietly, and everybody moves on.
So you're saying that you have a knack of cleaning up situations, or at least you have a perceived knack of cleaning up messy situations before they get out of hand.
I would say yes, that is my perceived knack. Yes.
And the specific stories from which that legend has arose will just keep on the down low, or is the statute of limitations around to where we can talk about them?
I suppose maybe briefly we can talk about one of them.
Do tell. Do tell.
It was a alleged car accident that a friend of mine had gotten into after having partaken in a few beverages, and he didn't make it to the designated location, so I turned around and went back, and sure enough, there was a car accident and bystanders, and so we scooped him up because he was bleeding to fix his injuries. And
Safety first.
Safety first.
Yeah. Make sure.
And
health and wellness.
Yeah, and he was in, due to his injuries, was in no condition to return to the scene, so I went back and just politely told the police officer what happened.
And
They marked it up as an accident, and everybody went on their way.
nothing happened out of it.
Nothing happened.
See? The wolf.
The wolf.
Oh.
That's the one I can tell you about.
We won't talk about the others, right?
That's right.
All right, so before we get going into the meat and get the savvy advice of the wolf himself, we got to do some updates, firm updates.
Yeah, there's a couple to talk about.
It's been not as busy of a month. I mean, Corey would say he's been working his tail off, but we know how that works. But there's been some documented successes.
Yeah. First and foremost, most importantly, is one of our right-hand gals, Leilani's back in the office after having been gone for a while on maternity leave.
Thank God.
Yeah. So
we missed her.
We did miss her.
Yeah.
She is a huge asset to our team, and glad to have her back and welcome the newest member to their family, Makoa.
I think that's Makoa.
Yeah.
If we got it wrong, we'll be in trouble. But
So that's one.
that's one. That's the biggest one. I think that's important.
That's the most important.
She's one of the originals. Not the original, but one of the originals. One of the longest 10 years this year.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So good to have her back. What else?
We had a successful appeal come down from the Iowa Court of Appeals this month. That was your win, I believe. Well, it was a joint effort.
I cannot take all the credit. I will, but I don't get to. Scott handled the trial court level, and it was one. It's an issue that we've all been bouncing around for a long time. We absolutely wanted to take it up on appeal. So I said, I'll do the appeal.
Yeah, those folks up in Okoboji, or those people who drive four-wheelers on the ice in the winter, probably want to take a look at that appeal, because it's
a great deal of gratitude.
Yeah.
So really what it said is the Department of Natural Resource officers can't just stop ATVs, UTVs for shits and giggles. In other words, without a traffic violation, without reasonable suspicion. They used to think that they could just stop to inspect and ask for registration information. You can't do it in a car on the roadway, so the argument was you can't do it on the ice or after coming off of the ice.
Right.
Court of Appeal says, yep, makes sense.
And I think that was a case out of Okoboji during the Winter Olympics, right?
Yeah, they're Winter Games.
Or Winter Games.
Winter Games,
yeah.
We always get action out of Winter Games. Other big news, as of July 1st, your trash is no longer protected, people.
Yeah, the legislature decided that the Iowa Supreme Court should not have decided State versus Wright, in which the Supreme Court so aptly provided protections to individuals for trash. Legislature decided they should probably take that away.
Yeah, we'll see how that
Yeah.
shapes up. I know we know Colin Dope Yoda's already working on that. He's ready to go. If somebody has a case like that, talk to him first.
Yeah.
He's your first shop for that.
Can't wait till one of these legislators who voted for this actually gets their trash ripped.
It would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would be interesting.
We wouldn't do such a thing.
Never.
All right, before we get going, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to learn a little bit more about Matthew the Wolf Lindholm. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Wolves. You had it earlier, but surviving.
Yeah.
Rules of engagement.
Rules of engagement, yeah.
And disengagement.
And disengagement.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Matt Lindholm, a.k.a. The Wolf, think Pulp Fiction, has been pursuing justice for his clients for 2 decades, defending those accused of criminal charges. His attention to detail, meticulous preparation, knowledge of the law, and forward-thinking approach is what sets him apart from other attorneys, thereby triggering his moniker, The Wolf. Matt is a founding member of GRL Law, has been named a super lawyer each consecutive year since 2015, is an Avo Client Choice Top Attorney with a superb rating of 10 out of 10, is certified in field sobriety testing, and is a routinely sought-after speaker. His successes and ability to obtain favorable results for his clients speak volumes through the many online reviews he has received. When he is not actively engaged in the pursuit of justice for his clients, you can find him fishing, hunting, or somewhere near a wrestling mat. As he likes to say, he was molded on the mats and refined on the river. He also cherishes the time he spends with his wife and 3 children.
Welcome back. The Wolf's Rules of Engagement we're talking about. How did we come up with this topic?
Well, interestingly, I think one of the reasons is you have one of your kids going to college.
Yeah, it's scary.
And we started reminiscing about kind of the things we wish we would have known, or the wisdom we have now, taking that into college if we were his age. And then kind of progressed. I talked to my cousin, and she had some concerns about her daughter going to college as well. So I think it's kind of the rules of engagement that we wish we would have known or want to pass on to those that are going to school.
And it's kind of fun. When we were getting ready for this, we thought about, we have our parental advice.
Right.
Right? There's parental advice, and then there's the wolf's advice.
Correct.
They're not always the same.
They're not always the same, yeah.
I mean, when the Wolf's kids, when the Cubs go off to college, you'll probably be on the parental side.
Of course, at least initially.
Initially.
And everybody is initially, but
yeah.
It's when that initial advice doesn't necessarily stick.
And I think we could both agree that from a parenting standpoint, the worst thing you can do is assume that these rules, that your parenting rules are going to be followed. respected, and that there isn't going to be some shenanigans.
Well, of course. I mean, as a parent, you have to expect that there's going to be some shenanigans when you're sending a 18, 19, 20-year-old to school. I mean, it's just inevitable for the most part.
You think? Reality is it is, but we try to think, oh, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, of course,
Not my
parents don't want to think that
Right.
way, but doing what we do, we know what the reality is, and the reality is it's going to happen.
We see it day in, day out. These are things that happen. So here's some practical advice, rules of engagement from none other than the wolf himself.
So, number one.
Number one, I lead with the parental rule of, very simple, Nancy Reagan told us this, don't do drugs.
This is your drugs on brain, or your brain on drugs, the whole fried egg, right?
Yes, right. The war on drugs. Don't do drugs, because we know that when we send our kids off to college, they're going to follow that advice, and they are not going to do drugs.
Right. Especially with, I mean, the legalization and kind of modern acceptance now of marijuana. It's becoming a little more mainstream than I think it probably ever has been.
So the wolf would say,
Well, the parental wolf would say don't do drugs.
yes, sir.
But if the wolf is just purely giving advice, I'm going to say, and if you do drugs,
If you do,
there's a few things you need to keep in mind.
okay, I want to know these. What are they?
Number one, and probably most importantly, is you got to know what it is you're taking and doing. Primarily because right now there is a great big influx and problem with street drugs being laced with fentanyl.
This is not a make-believe, only happens in California, only happens in New York City. This is not a make-believe issue.
No, this is happening all across the country. It's happening right here. It happens day in and day out, and people are dying because of it.
No BS. We had a case here. I had it. I watched the body cam video. Guy thought he took Oxy as he was driving. It ended up being fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And paramedics in Des Moines rolls through intersection, crashes. They literally have to bring him back to life twice with Narcan.
Yeah, and that's the scary part about it is a lot of the fentanyl-laced drugs are opiates, and so they're being manufactured to look like a prescribed opiate, and people are taking them thinking, well, if it came from the doctor, it's fine, and it's not.
When you don't know if it came from the doctor.
Right.
If you're getting it from your buddy's roommate or, a friend of a friend, you have no idea where that came from. You can't source it. You can't track that.
Right.
So there are tools out there to test for things.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy, different types of testing kits and that kind of thing to determine if there's any of those substances in there. But, I mean, fentanyl is a nasty, dangerous substance that, for whatever reason, is being laced in a lot of common prescription and non-prescription drugs right now.
So don't do drugs, but if you do, know what the hell is going into your body.
Yep, for sure. Know what it is.
Okay.
Which is hard to do. I mean, that goes back to don't do them because there's really no way to tell unless you're getting a test kit and testing the substances.
Which takes the buzz out of it. It takes the excitement. Oh,
Sure.
Hold on, time out. I
Right.
know we're passing this around, but time out. Maybe another piece of advice is don't be the first.
Yeah, don't be the first because if you're not the first, you at least get the opportunity to see how other people react to it.
Okay.
And the dosage and the delayed reaction from some of these drugs are what gets a lot of people in trouble.
So, and then that's next. If don't do it, but if you do, dosage is important as well.
Right. I mean, just as if it's alcohol or anything else, every year you hear, primarily when kids are going back to school, about some alcohol overdose death at a party. But the same is happening with drugs, too.
Well, and we see it with edibles.
Oh, yeah.
THC edibles. We've seen it. We've seen it with our own eyes. Other people that there's a reason they tell people to wait, right?
Yeah.
Like they say, no, seriously, cut this thing in half and wait. What, like 45 minutes to an hour?
It's like that scene off of Wolf of Wall Street where they're doing Quaaludes and they save those special ones, and they're several years old, and the response is delayed, but it just absolutely puts them on the floor. I mean, it, especially if you're not accustomed to ever having done them or been around them, start small.
And patience is important.
Patience is a virtue.
Wait.
Wait.
When they say wait, wait. When they say cut it up, wait and cut it up. Just take your damn time.
Exactly.
If you're going to experiment with something. And it's so this rule flashes me back. You know Ralphie May, the comedian?
Yeah.
He's now passed away, but he was one of my favorite comedians of all time. And he was talking about how he had this bit about drugs and acid tabs. And he was like, it doesn't matter the size, dosages for these psychedelics. And he had a rule, is always have a safety safe. A place that before you start, you can be safe in, a friend that can look out for you. These are some basic things that people don't really understand till oftentimes it's too late.
Right. And the use of them is what ultimately ends up getting people in trouble. Either, they get in trouble legally, or something bad happens to them at a party, or whatever the case may be. The other thing that I think probably needs to be recognized and mentioned is a lot of people think that I can only get an OWI or DUI if I have active drugs in my system at the time I'm driving.
I think a lot of people don't even do the drug connection. It's,
No.
I wasn't drunk.
Right. Right.
I had psilocybin mushrooms, or I had the edible gummies.
Yeah, but how many cases have we had where, somebody ends up getting an OWI because they admit to smoking weed or having marijuana or THC a week or 2 weeks or even a month ago. Mm-hmm. And all that is needed is that metabolite. It doesn't have to be the actually active component of the drug in your system at the time you're operating. And
we'll come back to a rule at the very end that addresses that and gives some advice on that. But really, it's be smart. Don't do it. I mean, first of all, how many lives are ruined every year because of it? But if you're going to do it, be cautious. Yeah. Test. Have somebody that can look out for you, mm-hmm. that you trust.
Yep. I mean, a lot of people are now going to states where at least THC is legal, so there isn't the illegality in those states, but you still have the concerns of overuse and not knowing and how much you're using, the DUI, those types of things.
Yeah, you show up and you think you got a bag full of gummy bears, and next thing you know, you're
right
crying on your floor in between laughter fits. Yep. Okay. So, good one. Don't do drugs, but if you do, the wolf says, test it, know what you're taking, take your time.
Be safe, yep.
Be safe, have somebody look out for you.
Yep.
Okay? Second one. This is my favorite of all of these.
This is a scary one.
Oh my God. We could probably create a whole series on this one.
Yes. And
it's what our parents told us back in our day was, if you don't want it on a billboard, don't put it in writing or don't send it. But the rule is simply, the parental rule is don't send it.
Right.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about in the modern day era of digital, taking and or sending pictures, nudes, those types of things.
So what we should do is we should look at everybody and say, parents, if you have your children and you're watching this, make sure of any part of this they watch, it's this right here.
Right. This is the most important.
This is can't miss TV. This is can't miss anything, because this is real and it will screw your life up.
Not only legally, but I mean, you've got, the sextortion stuff. You've got, just situations where that's going to be ultimately turned around and used against somebody 20 years from now if they decide to run for governor.
We're talking about sexting.
Sexting.
We're talking about sexting. Don't sext.
And it's not even just, it's sexting, but it's also, evidence of anything that might be a criminal act or evidence of anything that might ultimately result in some type of civil suit where your nose is open to criminal or civil liability.
But let's talk about sexting, because let's be honest, none of us as parents want to believe that our kids are taking pictures of their naughty regions and sending them to other kids and receiving those in return. We don't want to. We don't believe our kids do it, but they all do it.
Sure. Nobody wants to believe it, but it's happening. We see it.
You're not immune from this.
Right.
You use the phrase sextortion.
Yes.
That is an awesome word. I thought I came up with that phrase. I really did.
You think you do a lot of things that you don't, though.
And you're right. I thought I came up with it, and then I was like, oh, that's a great phrase. We're going to blog that. And then I Googled it, and it already existed.
Yeah.
What is it?
So sextortion is the classic example of somebody sending somebody a message saying, we've got a picture of you, or getting you to send a picture of yourself to them, and then ultimately telling you you need to pay them in order for them to get rid of it.
This is so real. If kids are honest with their parents, it's happening, and it's happening in our community, it's happening nationwide. It is scary.
Very scary.
The impact it has.
It's very scary.
Because we've had cases that show it at its worst.
Yeah.
And what it is people will use social media. Criminals will use social media. They will use dating apps. They will use any way, and then contact kids, teenagers, and get them into that sexting conversation. And the minute they get a wiener picture, the minute they get a private picture, the minute they get anything that is compromising, they'll see how far they can push it. They'll even ask specifically for pictures of everything going on with a face. They want the face, right?
They'll use that to get more pictures, and then it becomes money, and then where do you draw the line?
And then they flat out say, your life is over. I am going to ruin your life. There's times we've seen the messages, you might as well kill yourself.
Yeah, we've seen, and there's been stories where that's actually happened.
Correct. And these criminals are doing this to say, send me money, send it to this account, send it to that account. And if they get a good hook in somebody, what we found out is they will actually use that person as a go-between.
Yep.
So say I hook you, and I got you paying me, or you can't pay me. You don't have the money to pay me. Okay, what's your PayPal account info?
Yep.
They'll send the money to you. You then have to transfer it to me. You're the go-between, and now you're looped into sextortion ring.
Right. It's scary because they're preying on the vulnerability of the adolescents, and knowing that they want to fit in, they want to be popular, they don't want their image slighted or their family's image slighted, and so they're just sextorting them.
Well, let's be honest. At that age, everybody wants to see it.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You want to see it. That's all you can think about when you're a 15-year-old dude. I can tell you that. And I'm guessing I don't know about the female perspective, but there probably is. And so when you start getting that reciprocation,
it's easy to give it back.
Yeah. So what would you say? Obviously don't take the picture to begin with, but what are some things for people to look out for to avoid getting wrapped up into that type of situation?
Number one is probably, the number one biggest clue to me, if I was looking at this from an outsider, that this is happening, is you get contacted from somebody you don't know out of the blue. Yeah. Because you have no idea if that's a real person or a fake account, but you got to stop and ask yourself, why is this person contacting me? It's probably not because they think you're stellar looking or, whatever.
Because your profile picture is on point.
They found something that makes you vulnerable.
So the wolf would say, have you met this person in person?
Right.
Do you even know this person actually exists?
Yes.
If not, probably don't send those pictures.
Or even communicate with them. Don't give them cell phone numbers and any of that stuff.
Account numbers.
Okay.
Yep. What else?
Well, we have, manipulation from pictures where, people ultimately are trying, I guess it's similar to sextortion, but they're trying to get something. Even if you know them, they're trying to get something out of you.
And this brings up a good point. So, relationships. You're in a relationship with somebody. You're dating them. It's your boyfriend. It's your girlfriend. You're sending pictures back and forth, whatever it may be.
There's pictures of third base with you and your boyfriend or girlfriend.
You want to break up.
And your significant other, though, wants to leverage you into fourth base.
Yeah.
So they take the third base pictures and they threaten to send them out unless you go to fourth base.
We need to try fourth
Right.
base. Yeah, we need to try the Grand Slam.
Yep.
Whatever it may be.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's
Or ending the relationship or even beginning a relationship. It's, so-and-so sent me a picture of you. I'm going to send it to everybody unless you start dating me.
So what would be an important thing for people to understand? The fact that when you send a picture, when you send that digital image to somebody else, you lose what?
All control, number one, and then all expectation that it's going to be kept private.
It goes back to what our parents would tell us back in the day. If you don't want it on a billboard, don't say it.
The difference between this, though, and a billboard is you can make a billboard go away. You can't make something go away once you push send.
Once you push send, it is now outside of your control.
It's in everybody else's control and whatever they choose to do with it.
That's scary.
It's very scary.
That's super scary. But they told you it was deleted. It's gone, right?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, there's a digital footprint of everybody, everywhere, doing stuff all the time.
So wolf us up, though, on this, because this comes up, too, is, teenagers, young freshmen in college, juniors in high school, sophomores, seniors, that age group of, I'd say, 14 to 20.
Yeah.
Can be...
We're even seeing it younger, though. I mean, it's scary how young some of this stuff we're seeing is.
It is. It is. So, but the age of consent is one thing.
Right.
Which is what? What is the age of consent? Like, what are we talking about when we're talking about age of consent?
When you're talking about sexual.
Yes.
So generally it's 16.
Okay, but what is that? What is it? It's the age at which somebody
can knowingly, legally, intelligently engage in sexual activity.
Okay. And so 13 and under in Iowa, any sex act, it doesn't matter with who, what age, is illegal.
Illegal.
After that, 14, 15, there has to be an age difference of less than 4 years.
Right.
I think it's less than 4 years. We'll be safe. It's less than 4 years. But then 16 on, there is no age differentiation
Right.
for consensual sexual interaction.
Correct.
What's the problem with 16 to 18?
I think it's 3-year gap, right?
It has to be under 4-year gap, but the 16 to 18 is photography, right?
Yes.
What happens if there's a picture, a video, an image of somebody who is under 18 engaged in a sex act? What is that?
I'm following you. It can
Okay.
be considered child pornography or, minor.
It's kiddie porn.
It's kiddie porn, yeah.
Technically, it's kiddie porn.
Yeah. Yes, depiction of minors.
So when we have situations where there may be consensual sexual encounters taking place in person, completely legal, you film it, you take a picture, you send a picture of somebody under the age of 18.
You've just committed a crime, potentially.
Not potentially.
Well, yeah.
You committed a crime.
Yeah, if you got, but yes, yeah.
It's kiddie porn.
The wolf brain is
The
kicking
wolf
in.
brain.
Yeah.
The wolf brain.
Yeah,
You're
yes.
defending people
Yes,
already,
yes,
right?
yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You're the wolf. You get contacted by somebody who says, police are at my door. My son is 19. His girlfriend's 17. Police want to look through his phone.
The answer is absolutely not.
Oh, come on. But we're supposed to cooperate with law enforcement. If we do what we're supposed to do, everything goes away. They'll understand they were boyfriend, girlfriend. It was cool.
Let me modify my answer. Absolutely not right this minute.
What do you mean?
Well, number one is, it's baffling to me sometimes, and I understand that it's a belief that the general public has, and it's a belief that's been instilled to them through police, is that the police are there to help and you should cooperate with them. Well, when the police are coming, knocking on your door, asking to look through personal items, whether it's a cell phone or a purse or a car, or bedroom, or whatever the case may be, they're not there to try to help you for the most part. They're there to try to find evidence to corroborate an allegation of a crime. So why should I facilitate you, Mr. Police Officer, in finding evidence to convict my 19-year-old son?
Wolf this up for me. What are you doing in this situation?
It's real simple. The answer is no, you're not going to get the phone. We're going to speak to an attorney, and then we're going to go in and we're going to talk to the attorney. The attorney's going to talk to my son without me being there and going to find out exactly what could be on that phone. At that point in time, we will decide if we want to talk to the police and give them the contents of our phone or not.
Now, as a parent, you're not going to say to the police, well, if there's nothing bad on the phone, we'll let you have it, right? You're just going to say, no, stop, no, and don't.
I need to know more about this.
Correct.
Yep.
Because you don't want to, I mean, we've seen it. Yeah, here's the phone, here's the passcode, have at it. And next thing you know,
you're looking at sex abuse charges, and the primary evidence against the person is what you voluntarily gave them.
well, sex abuse, or there's the Snapchats with the sexting going on, which then qualifies as, invasion of privacy.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of ways it can go.
Right. Exploitation of a minor
Right.
is the big one. I mean, it goes downhill real quick. So if, as a parent, if I'm contacted and law enforcement wants to search my kid's phone, or more importantly, the kids at college, right? They don't have their parents standing right behind them. Detective shows up. Hey, I'm Detective Smith. Give me your phone. I want to see your phone. What should that kid be doing?
No. I mean, no. I'm not.
You're going to tell the cops no. You're going to tell them no. I'm a 19-year-old kid. What am I supposed to do?
I'm going to tell them no.
Okay. Be firm on it.
Yeah, be firm in it. Be assertive. No.
That's your right.
Yep.
So you have an expectation of privacy in the contents of your phone. You don't have to let them search.
Absolutely. And, it's a different story if they come to you with a search warrant. At that point in time, you have to comply with the search warrant and give them the phone. But what you don't have to necessarily do is give them the passcode or your thumbprint or let them hold it up to your face to unlock the phone.
And that's a huge, great discussion later on. I mean, it's more in depth of passcodes are best.
Right.
Right, for your
Yep.
phone?
Absolutely.
Because they cannot, under current law, law enforcement cannot compel you to provide your passcode to your phone.
Yeah, there's kind of this is an evolving arena for litigation right now, and courts are a little bit all over the board, but it seems to be breaking down between whether you're required to give some numeric or alphanumeric passcode versus a thumbprint or your facial recognition or whatever. So passcodes, at least as it stands right now, are probably going to provide you the most protection.
Because fingerprints can get left in public anywhere. They can be said they're abandoned.
Right.
Facial recognition, they just hold up to your face.
Right.
But passcode your phone.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And let's be honest. Instead of sending digital pictures back and forth.
Let's do it in person.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's more fun that way.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's hard. It's easy for you and I to understand and recognize that because we didn't grow up with the digital capability that there is now.
No, we had the dorm phones, and you wake up the
Right.
grumpy roommate because they're trying to sleep, and then you get yelled at, and then, yeah.
Or the Polaroids that you had to take in and get developed and wait for 2 weeks to get them back, and then you just had the one that you handed out to whoever you wanted. You
have the phones, the disposables, and you're not sure exactly what's on it, and you don't want to get in trouble from Walgreens.
You take the negatives and you go like this, and it's all ruined, and that actually is gone.
It's gone, but you cannot destroy the digital.
No.
The digital they can always retrieve somehow,
Right.
some way.
Yep. And that's true even if you think you deleted off your phone. They have the extraction technology now to even retrieve some of the stuff that you delete.
It's crazy.
Or know what was there when it was deleted. It's scary, yeah.
So, and this leads into Rule 3, and this is a controversial rule. Some in prep said that we should rephrase this rule, but this is GRL raw, okay? And so we're just going to tell it like it is.
Take a drink for that one.
You're going to need a couple drinks for this one, but a good way to avoid trouble in college. And by the way, we omitted initially. These are gender-neutral rules.
They are.
They apply both ways because everybody is involved in it, both sides, whatever it may be. Rule 3 is also gender-neutral, even though part of the rule traditionally has been associated with one gender as opposed to the other. This applies to everybody.
It does.
Don't be a hoe.
Right.
H-O-E.
Right.
Not the garden tool.
Right. Buying breakfast.
That's the wolf.
Buying breakfast.
That's the wolf.
That's the wolf.
And so, okay. We got to give background on the buy breakfast because this was not our phrase.
It was not.
Whose was it?
It was Scotty's, wasn't it?
Yes. So our good friend Scott Gracious has this. He has this saying, and he's told our kids this. He told my son this. He told any young man he's ever run across, any person he's run across, that his rule. He's a private investigator, really good, best at what he does, and he's investigated so many of these different types of cases that he came up with this rule of, listen, one-night stands are going to happen in college, especially as young adults. These things happen. But the best way to avoid being in an uncomfortable position, a life-changing, life-altering position of being accused of something you didn't do, buy breakfast.
Yeah, and I think what that comes from was his years of investigating these cases and looking at them and figuring out that, all right, if there was an allegation that happens, the investigation in large part focuses on what happened after the fact. And if it's a situation where the two people are going out for breakfast or, whatever, hanging out the next day, it probably wasn't a situation where it wasn't consensual.
It's genius because it also prevents accusations from being made.
Right.
Because we've seen it where accusations get made because one person was, as they call it now, ghosted. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. The deed is done. Somebody walks off, never to be heard from again. Other friends come up, oh, how was last night? How was whatever, who that? And then next thing you know, oh, no, I didn't want to do that.
Right.
So if you're seen with them the next morning in public buying breakfast, A, you're not ghosting them. B, you're also being seen together in public.
There's
in
other witnesses.
A friendly environment, getting along, certainly not traumatically abused at that point in time. It is a great buffer.
Absolutely.
A great buffer.
Absolutely.
And it also brings up the fact that this day and age, the victim culture, and we're gonna piss some people off with this, but the victim culture is out of control.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a lot different than it has been.
You're being politically correct there, but
yeah, the Me Too movement has certainly, and we've seen it time and time again in our office when we start digging into the motives behind some of these allegations. It's crazy that the things that are happening. I mean, it really is.
It's scary. I mean, nowadays, a one-night stand, while it used to be all fun and games, now it's literally rolling the dice with your future.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So best advice, parental advice, to get to know the person, be in love, all that fun stuff, get married. The wolf would say,
don't do crazy.
yeah, that's the other one. So that's actually a sub rule, right?
It is. It is.
So tell us about the wolves don't do crazy rule.
Well, I mean, everybody has this internal sense of something isn't right. If they, you're talking to the person or you're out with them and something's just a little bit off, trust your gut because something's probably a little bit off. Yeah.
Trust your gut, not the other parts of your body.
Right.
If your gut says run, run.
Think with the right head.
And so give the world some advice on how to identify your top rule on how to identify crazy. And we'll go back to digital.
Yeah, I mean, digital is a good way. The very long text messages about the relationship you want to be in or should be in, or the constant "I want to know where you're at all times" kind of thing is a really good indicator.
I think the safest way, and I have not been proven wrong on this, a long text messages, as in you can't fit everything you want to say into one text message on a consistent basis, is a red flag of the crazy.
Yeah. The pages.
Pages.
Boom, boom, boom. 3 or 4 of them coming in and their screen's long.
Bye. Either gender, multiple long text messages, classic flag of crazy. The crazy hot matrix, that's the crazy part. Not a unicorn. Bye. Time to get out.
And we've seen it both from men and women.
Goes both ways. Okay, we're running out of time, so we're going to skip right ahead to the final rule for the wolf of sobriety.
I want to back up real quick about the don't be a hoe.
Yeah.
They got to be wary of the trap too.
Okay.
You know the trap? So the morning after, if you don't go to breakfast, and then all of a sudden you're getting a phone call or a text message, what did we actually do last night? I don't remember.
Okay.
That is a typical investigative tool used by law enforcement to try to get the person to admit something so that they have a basis for some type of criminal allegation.
That's wolf advice.
That's wolf advice.
That's a wolf warning.
Wolf warning.
Because I don't remember is never a defense.
Right.
We've talked to young men about that. Yep. That is not a defense.
Yep.
Don't fall for that.
Yep.
Okay. So let's skip ahead.
Rule 4.
Rule 4, final rule. Wrapping this thing up, what is the final wolf's rule of engagement?
Know what you don't know.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's like deep.
It's insightful.
It is. What do you mean?
What I mean is, if you stop and pause for a minute, you think about all those times or situations you've been, especially at a college, football game, tailgating, whatever, who are the people that are always getting arrested?
The dicks.
Yeah.
The
the people who are talking too much. Yep. And again, this is gender neutral. It goes both ways because I've seen it. It's the guys who are like, you can't do this. I have a constitutional right, blah, 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 blah. You're going to jail.
Yeah, in a bad way.
Right.
Maybe getting tased, maybe getting pepper sprayed.
Yes.
You're gonna get your public intox. You're also gonna get an interference. You're gonna get an assault on a peace officer. Even if you didn't assault them, you're gonna get every possible thing.
Right.
So exists.
Yeah. So it's those people that are being boisterous, combative, confrontational with the police that end up finding themselves in trouble. And oftentimes they think they're asserting a right that they might know something about, but they really don't know what it means.
We've had my law students. I'm in law school. I know you can't do this, and half the time they're wrong.
Right.
I mean, we've had lawyers that half the time they're wrong.
Yep.
I mean, it's the best advice from the wolf is wolves for the most part are what?
I mean, there are a lot of things, but
they're silent.
They're silent.
And they blend into the background, and they pitter patter before
they're
they
ready to
pounce.
pounce. Yep, for sure.
So blend into the background, shut up, be quiet. You don't have to pretend to know everything. And know what you don't know also would say know when to get somebody who does know involved.
Right.
Parents have to give the children permission to reach out to them in these sticky situations.
Right. You can't make your kids feel like they can't come to you, because if they feel like they can't come to you and they're in a situation, they're going to probably make their situation worse. They need your help, and you have to help them by contacting an attorney so that they don't make the situation
That was
worse.
my next thing is from a parental perspective, you also have to know and appreciate what you don't know.
Right.
Which is there's a time and a place to admit this is over your head. You need the frickin' wolf.
Yep.
You need somebody who knows what they're doing that can come in and help.
In the wise words of Kenny Rogers, you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them, you got to know when to walk away, and you got to know when to run.
I think we end on that, brother. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
We'll be right back with Do's and Don'ts with Donuts. She promises this one, if it can get better than last episode, it's gonna do it. So thank you, Wolf.
It's a hard thing for the cops to get through because they seem to think that if you've had something to drink, you have violated the law. And that's just not the case. It's just not the case. And it's very frustrating, I don't know for you, but for me, it's very frustrating well, he admitted he had a drink. All right, well, so what? That's not a violation of the law. I don't understand.
Well, and you can have an attorney that has, I suppose, been perfect their entire life and never seen things from other perspectives. But if you can understand some of the turmoil that a client has gone through and some of the things that they're going through at the time that they seek you out for your help, I think it puts us in a better position to help those folks, not only legally, but personally work through those specific situations.
Are back with this is the fourth Do's and Don'ts?
I think so.
Fourth Do's and Don'ts with Donut.
Hello.
I'm assuming this is college theme, maybe a little bit.
No,
No.
it's not.
Completely
It was
off
just
topic.
like one I had in my folder of Reddit posts that I was like, this might need to make an appearance today.
All right. Well, if you're feeling it, we
I
are
am.
ready to roll. Hit us with this episode's Do's and Don'ts with Donut.
All right. So the title is Arrested and Booked for Being in Walmart Naked. Okay, so first off, I'm not a sicko freak. It's not like that. I was just drunk and on some drugs, I will say. Wandered my way into a Walmart and allegedly was naked. Cops booked me. I bailed out yesterday. I'm going to court in 3 weeks, but I'm pleading not guilty and saying I did not do this because they have no proof. My question is, do I need an attorney? What kind of lawyer do I need to hire? And I think they're trying to get me on the sex offender registry too. But it doesn't end there. In the comments, I found that he was charged with indecent exposure, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill by trying to run someone over with his car, and a public intox.
What's this, Tim McGraw?
What?
Didn't he get caught driving his car naked or something like that? That's why he went sober.
I don't know. It wasn't in Walmart, though.
So this is college.
Yeah.
This fits like five of the rules. We only had 4 rules, but this fits like 5 of the rules that we just had on the Wolves' rules of engagement.
And they apply when you're in Walmart
100%.
and everywhere else.
Oh my God. Okay. So which one of the questions are we going to answer first?
I say we first start with they have no proof of
Do
him
tell.
being naked in a Walmart.
Well, it's just somebody saying he was naked in a Walmart. Oh, wait, hold on. Do we know this is him?
Yes.
We do.
I mean,
He probably posted his thing.
maybe.
This
No, it says throwaway account for obvious reasons.
this individual claims to have been naked.
Allegedly was
Allegedly
naked.
was naked. Accused of being naked.
But says there's no proof that he did it, so he's going to plead not guilty, doesn't think he needs a lawyer.
Okay.
And we are in 2022,
Yes.
and we all are in a Walmart.
And what happens to be in every Walmart in 2022?
At least 200 surveillance cameras.
At least.
At least. Not to mention the fact that there's probably some Snapchat video of this, especially if you're in a college town.
Yeah.
The body camera footage is probably immaculate.
TikTok for sure.
Yeah.
TikTok, body camera, Walmart surveillance video, which I will say Walmart surveillance footage is not the clearest, but I'm guessing it can tell if somebody doesn't have clothes on.
Yes.
Okay. So let's presume said individual is buck naked
Yep.
on camera in Walmart.
Yep.
Miss Donut, what are we doing? How are we defending him?
Well,
There's
there's 2 different offenses in there that I think there might actually be a defense to if he was actually that intoxicated on drugs or alcohol.
do tell.
So indecent exposure in Iowa, there is an element of doing it for some sort of sexual desire
Okay.
and intent to kill with
Okay.
his vehicle.
So let's do indecent exposure first, because that seems to be the most reasonable. Naked person in public blasting through Walmart. I figured that was just part of the landscape. Like, that's just acceptable in Walmart.
It might be.
That was probably rude of me to say.
That probably
but-
was, but it's okay. It happened at Walmart, so.
Yeah. So there has to be a sexual intent component to being naked.
Yes,
Just because you're naked doesn't mean that you have an intent to sexually arouse yourself.
yes.
I mean, what I hear is some drugs make you warm,
Yeah.
maybe make you overheat.
I also was looking, I don't think there's a public nudity statute in Iowa. It's just indecent exposure.
Yeah.
So I think that you potentially have some defense for the indecent exposure.
Fun fact, one of the first blogs I ever did was asking the question of whether or not topless in Iowa qualified as indecent exposure.
Surprised I didn't find that when I Googled indecent exposure this morning.
Probably should have tagged it better or done some SEO optimization.
Usually GRL blog posts are the first things that come up on my
Failed.
Google searches.
Failed. That was the second one to drunk on a surfboard. But yeah.
So I think there's the voluntary intoxication or intoxication potential for being able to prove the correct state of mind for intent to kill and indecent exposure. So he might have that.
Well, and let's be honest, like if somebody's hammer smashed naked in Walmart, it doesn't mean sexual arousal is a requirement of the indecent exposure. So the circumstances surrounding being naked. If you're naked in Walmart, just walking through with a basket, filling up, getting your macaroni and cheese and ramen noodles and maybe a 40 ounce of High Life.
I have a suspicion that that's not what this person was doing if they were also charged with intent to kill.
Hey, but
assault.
I'm just saying, we got to get the video and find out. But if all you're doing is shopping naked at Walmart, that doesn't mean that you're shopping naked at Walmart for sexual gratification.
Exactly.
There's other circumstances that need to be focused on.
Like being highly intoxicated on alcohol and drugs.
And or what are you doing while you're hammer smashed naked at Walmart?
That he did not say that.
Are you creeping other people out? Are you running up and humping legs? I mean, a
Yeah.
number of different things.
Yeah.
Okay, so the assault with a deadly weapon, or what was it called?
Yeah, it was assault with a deadly weapon. They were saying that he had the intent to kill someone with his car,
So
which I looked up.
Okay,
And a car can be a deadly weapon.
absolutely.
If you're using it with the intent to cause serious injury, and it could.
So I have this in
So
my
there's two more elements of intent.
I have this image in my head of naked person
Yep.
shopping at Walmart, out of their mind. Maybe it's 3 o'clock in the morning. They rode their bicycle high on LSD, but then they get to their car.
They find a car.
They find a car. They want to leave the car, and the mall cop or Walmart cop comes chasing after them, saying, "Stop now! You know you need to stay here, naked Walmart shopper."
And they're like, nah, I can't sit here.
and they try to back out and leave.
yeah.
So it comes down to how intentional, obviously, was any movements with the vehicle
Yeah.
that would reflect an intent to harm.
Not to mention, I feel like as a defense attorney, to say that someone has the intent to kill while they're walking around naked at a Walmart is kind of hard to argue, right? Like,
You're not in your homicidal mind frame when
No.
you're buck naked walking through Walmart.
no, not at all.
It should be like an automatic insanity defense.
Honestly, I mean, the fact that his first thing is, I'm going to go to court in 3 weeks without a lawyer, and I'm pleading not guilty because they have no proof that I was at Walmart and naked, is maybe enough for an insanity defense. Or this person lives under a rock and does not understand the amount of cameras everywhere.
We'll call it a good start to an insanity defense. But let's answer the most important question of naked Walmart shopper. Do I need a lawyer?
Yeah,
Well,
immediately.
yeah.
Like
yes.
yesterday. Yeah. You needed a lawyer before you posted this Reddit post.
So, transform this post into a do and don't with donut.
That's kind of, I didn't think about the most important part of this. Don't go to Walmart naked in your vehicle while almost hitting someone in your vehicle. But if you do and you get caught, get a lawyer immediately before you post it on Reddit. Because I don't know that these set of facts are all that common.
So we get to loop this back into the Wolf's rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
If you do,
don't go to Walmart
naked.
And
if you do,
don't get caught.
Don't
Don't drive your car.
And if you do, don't drive your car at somebody.
Yes.
General proximity, probably.
Yes.
And if you do all of that,
get a lawyer before you make a Reddit post.
Lawyer
or don't if you want us to talk about you.
lawyer the hell up. How about that?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Cheers.
To another episode of Do's and Don'ts with Donut. Thanks all. See you next time. Yeah, that's awesome.
We can't change the past, but we will change your future. GRL Law. Thanks for tuning in to GRL Raw. Check us out at grllaw.com.